Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to do a full face of my top Sephora recommendations. This one, you're just going to see me applying all of the makeup. We're going to talk a little bit about each product. I am currently wearing two different foundations, two different concealers, several blushes, several contours, bronzers. Like, I just tried to use as many products as I could so I could show you guys why I love them so much. Leave me some comments down below. I would love to chat with you guys. I love to talk about makeup. It's one of my favorite things. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you're subscribed, give it a thumbs up, and let's get into today's video. We're going to start off with one of my favorites for my under eyes. It's the Innisfree Green Tea Caffeine Bright Eye Serum. This would be my overall pick because of the price. It's $22, the thin formula, and the cooling rollerball applicator. It's perfect to wear under makeup or just as a nice wake up for your under eyes. I like to do my toner next, and this is the Paula's Choice Skin Perfecting Exfoliating Toner. This is the mini 1 ounce size for $15, and I've loved this for years. I do think that my pores look smaller when I use this, and I use it just about every other day. The serum that I use most consistently is the Lancome Genifique Ultimate Serum. This is a pricey item that I try to stock up on during the sale. It's $89 for 1 ounce. I was able to get the 1 ounce size for 50% off at the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty event, and it lasts me around 6 months. I would say my second favorite from Sephora is the Biossance Copper Peptide Serum. That one is $68, but I don't think you could go wrong with either one. My skin is very much combination. The perimeter is usually on the dry side, and the center gets oily throughout the day. I've tried so many moisturizers, and my favorite by far is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I focus it mostly on the outside of my face and around my nose, where I can also get some dry patches. Even though I do get oily, it's still important to hydrate your skin before applying makeup. Just let it dry for a while, and then you're good to go. I absolutely love these reusable eye patches from the brand Dew. These are seriously the best $25 investment. I just rinse them between uses with warm water, and they're ready to reuse the next day. I notice a difference in how my concealer wears when I don't use these. Now, I love several different lip masks, but the Tatcha is definitely a favorite. It almost feels like a gel, and it gives a lot of shine and hydration. Plus, the packaging is just stunning. The little gold spatula comes with it for $29. And now it's time to start on the brows. There is no other brow gel on the market that is better than the Rare Beauty. What little brow hairs I do have are very stubborn and they don't want to lay down. This is the best formula that I've found, and it's only $19. This technique really helps me with filling them in later with a brow pencil. I do have to be careful with this because I have two different brow shapes going on, but I love this product so much and I definitely recommend it. I like to do my eye primer next, and I spoke about this in my last video, but the Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Eden is the only eye primer that I would recommend now from Sephora. They stopped selling the Rare Beauty for some reason, which is probably my all-time favorite. I like to use the Sephora No. 71 concealer brush to spread it out and blend it. It gives really good coverage, and it doesn't feel too drying on the lid. Often I find that using a concealer can make it feel too dry. I like to press it in further with a sponge, and that also picks up any excess product. I take a tiny amount of powder to set it down, and this gives the perfect base for eyeshadow. Makeup by Mario is probably my favorite formula sold at Sephora. This is his newest release, the Ethereal Eyes Nature Palette. It's a beautiful color story, and it has almost everything that I need to do a complete eye look. But I pulled out the OG Ethereal Eyes because I still need that matte white, and I'm starting off with this peachy matte for a soft transition shade on the BK Beauty 212 brush. I just love starting with this shade, and I'm so glad that I was able to get a backup of this palette because it's honestly the best quality out of all three that he has released. Now I'm taking the matte white on the same brush to blend under my brow and soften the edge of that first shade. I decided that I needed to build up that transition a little bit more, so I'm just going to add another layer. I just throw this shade all over my crease. Now I'm switching to a deeper warm brown on the BK N13 brush, and I'm just going to carefully lay that shade in the outer V. Once most of the pigment is off the brush, I carefully blend up into my crease. I like to take my time with this and build it up slowly so it doesn't get out of hand. I try to bring it slightly above my crease, but only on the outer edge. Now I'm going to go back to the matte white one more time on the 212 brush to clean up and soften it a little bit. I usually start my eyeliner with a dark brown matte shadow first on the BK208 brush. It's the most precise liner brush that I own. I just stamp it along my upper lash line, but I focus most of it on the outer edge. Then I take a makeup wipe to clean up, and that gives me an outline to go by with the actual eyeliner. I'm going to use the new plum shade of this Makeup by Mario eyeliner, but first I wanted to recommend this Glossier pencil sharpener. It's fantastic. It's currently out of stock, but it will come back and it's only $9. Just look how nice that point is. There is no mess. Well, until it's time to dump it anyway. I like to do tight lining first while the tip is the sharpest, so I just put it all over my upper waterline and then the lash line. Then I take the 208 brush again to blend it out and perfect my wing. This eyeliner does not budge and it is $26. I noticed a little gap between the eyeliner and my crease in the outer V, so I grabbed the BK A504 brush to do some precision blending with this chocolate brown matte. I like to do everything with the mattes before I use any shimmers, and anytime I use shimmers, I use the NYX Glitter Glue. It doesn't take much at all, and when I'm trying to do a fancy eye look, I use a brush to apply it, but most of the time I just use my fingertip to tap it in. I have been waiting to use this shade for this video so I could give you my first impressions on it. It's a gorgeous cranberry metallic with a light pink sheen to it. It's really pretty, but a bit lackluster in my opinion. I love me some sparkle, you guys. I can see it being really pretty with the Fenty Diamond Balm on top or something, so I will be trying that soon. But for this look, I decided to see what that green shade would look like next to it. I've had a vision of what this was going to look like, and I gotta say at first I was a little bit disappointed. I just tapped it in and then took what was left on my finger to blend them together. I added one more layer of both just to amp up the sparkle, but it still wasn't doing it for me, so I grabbed another favorite from Patrick Ta. This is one of his new duos, and it's called When the Sun Sets, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to start off with the darker shade, but I only used a little bit because I wanted to save room for the lighter shade in the inner corner. This shade is a beautiful light champagne, and I forgot to mention the Makeup by Mario Nature palette is $69, and the Patrick Ta duos are $42 a piece. And once that was on, I was pretty happy with the look. I don't experience much fallout since I use the glitter glue, but I always use the wipe again just to make sure. One last look to make sure we're good, and then it's time to remove the eye patches and start on primer. I can't believe there was ever a time when I said this product didn't do anything. It absolutely does. It's just not an instant gratification type of product. With just a few drops, this will slightly mattify your face, but the real magic is how it controls shine throughout the day. Or night in my case. I just press it in and I let it do its thing while I move on to mascara. My favorite at Sephora has to be the Fenty Hella Thick. I love YSL Lash Clash, but I prefer the smaller one that the Fenty has. And this one's only $21, so it's much cheaper. I won't bore you with watching me apply it, but just know that I do 2 coats and my lashes look so full and lifted with no issues. It's truly a great formula. Now that the Danessa Myricks has had time to dry, I reach for possibly my favorite primer of all time. If you have combo skin, I urge you to give this a try. You don't need to use a lot of it, but I wanted you to see the texture. It's like a gel cream that starts to become gripping and blurring as you blend it in. Once it dries down, your skin just feels super smooth. It provides just the right amount of hydration while also keeping the oil controlled. It's really magical for my skin, but please be careful not to use too much. And make sure you press it into your large pores. I let that sit for a few minutes and then I start on my brows while I wait. The Danessa Myricks Water Powder Serum is $39 and the Cali Ray Primer is $32. My favorite brow pencil is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Detailer, and I use the shade 3.5. It's so micro fine and it's perfect if you like to create hair-like strokes. It works well over the brow gel, but make sure to not twist up too much of the product. It's like using a mechanical pencil, so it's super fragile. I like the somewhat laminated brow look, but it's definitely a challenge with my sparse, uneven brows. Listen, you all are just going to have to look past it if you don't like them, because most days I do. But anyways, this brow pencil is $27 and they have 6 different shades. I will totally admit that I went overboard when I filmed this look and they didn't look the best. The comments aren't wrong, they were just rude. Now it's time to use the best foundation on the market for combo skin, and it just so happens to be sold at Sephora too. This is the Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation in the shade CN52 Neutral. This has become my #1 foundation because it will wear for over 16 hours and still look good after blotting and touching up with powder. I decided to give you more options in this video, so I'm only going to wear this on one side. I like to take one pump in my hand and warm it up, and then I use the spatula to spread it on my face and blend one section at a time. One of my all-time favorite brushes is sold at Sephora. It's the IT Cosmetics No. 7 brush, and it's one of the most versatile brushes that I own. You can use it to blend just about anything. I love that it has the smaller side too that's a little bit more dense for concealer, and it's perfect for blending around the brows. And then as you can see here, one pump goes a long way where it has that serum texture, but this formula definitely dries down matte, and it dries down pretty quickly. That's why I blend it in sections. I use whatever is left on my hand, and I blend those hard-to-reach areas with that smaller side. You can use any sponge for this, but the Stands Out is definitely a favorite. I scrape off the remaining foundation, and I press that in for maximum coverage. The Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation used to be my #1, but I find that the Clinique wears even longer on my skin. I have the shade 3-in-1 Ivory Beige. They have 56 shades, and it's $52. I'm not sure why, but Sephora only has 18 shades of the Clinique, and it's $48. I'm using the Sephora No. 47 brush to blend out this side, and it does a great job. It's like a kitten paw style. This foundation can be sheared out, or you can build it to full coverage. I think it dries down somewhere between natural and matte, and I didn't even realize how close these shades are. They're almost identical. I love how precise you can be with this brush, but it does take a little bit longer to blend because of its size. And then I just turn the sponge around to use the clean side to press that in, and now it's time to contour. This is my current go-to, and it's the Rare Beauty Liquid Contour. I have it in the shade Solace, and it's $28. They have 7 shades total. I just place a few dots in the areas that I like to contour, but I always end up going back and adding more. I just can't stop myself. One of my favorite brushes for contour, bronzer, or blush is the Makeup by Mario F4. I start with the smaller side and I just tap it in place. This formula blends so easily. You have to be careful not to bring it down too far though because it spreads so well. I take that Stands Out sponge again just to ensure that it's pressed in. You could totally just use a sponge to blend it, but I like to use both tools. This brush is very good for precision and it literally taps out in seconds. I use the Westman Atelier in the shade Biscuit most often on my nose because it gives a more subtle contour. And this little mini size is only $26. The Patrick Ta Nose Contour Brush is the best I've ever used. e.l.f. makes a dupe of it, but mine broke within just a few months. I tap it in and then I softly buff out with the fluffy side. I'm going to go ahead and lay some concealer down, and I brought out an old favorite to see if it can beat out my new favorite. This is the Haus Labs Concealer in the shade 21 Light Medium Neutral, and it's $32. I kind of draw an arrow under my eye in the inner corner, and I blend a little down my nose. I figured I should use their concealer brush too, since it's also something that I would recommend. This gives medium to full buildable coverage with a natural finish in my opinion. The shade is a little darker than I typically go for my under eyes, but it works great in the summer when I'm darker. They have 34 shades in this concealer, and I forgot how fantastic it really is. My new favorite concealer is the Estee Lauder Double Wear, and I have it in the shade 2.5C. It's $38 and they have 30 shades. This has more of a pink neutral undertone, and I'm going to blend it out with a very similar brush, but this one is from Rare Beauty, and it's only $18. This formula is more full coverage and more on the natural matte side, so I didn't use as much. I prefer this shade on me right now, and this Real Techniques Miracle Concealer Sponge is fantastic. I'm just going to tap it out a little bit and move on to blush. This is a new favorite from Too Faced. It's their Cloud Crush Whipped Liquid Blush in the shade Milk and Cookies. These are $28 and they have 8 different shades. I'm using the larger side of the F4 brush and I'm pressing it into the brush to get an even coat, and then I just lightly tap it right above my cheekbones. With one dot you can get a nice subtle look, but I wanted to build it up for you so you can see what it can do. It's such a pretty color and it actually does blur your pores. Look how quickly you can build up that pigment. There was a lot left on the brush and my hand, so I went ahead and added it to the other side. But I couldn't leave this out. I have been obsessed with the NARS Multiple Blush Stick in the shade Dazed. These are $40, and you best believe I've already ordered another shade. I like to use the Makeup by Mario F1 brush to tap this in because it's a little bit fluffier, and I don't really need more blush. But what I love so much about this shade and the formula is it kind of tones it down and gives a more natural look. I really love this new pink shade of the Laura Mercier Secret Under Eye Powder. It's $35, and I also have the original, but I wanted to use the pink to set the Haus Labs concealer so it would brighten it up a little bit. This powder is so micro fine and it is so beautiful. I don't hear many people talk about it. I also like to add a small amount of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Setting Powder in the fair shade to ensure that that concealer is set and smooth all day long. The Charlotte Tilbury powder is $49, and I also like to use it on its own sometimes, so I just used it on top of the Estee Lauder concealer. To set all over my face, I still recommend this Huda Beauty powder. I have the shade Pound Cake, which acts like a translucent shade on me. I just take the powder on a powder puff from Amazon and I press it under my cheekbones first to help that contour really pop. I let that bake for a little bit and press the remaining powder carefully everywhere else. This powder is $39 and they have 10 shades, but they also now have 2 new duos. I take a fluffy powder brush and swirl the leftover powder in the lid, and then I lightly dust it over that contour and blush. I also really enjoy this Patrick Ta dual-ended contour brush. It's $46, so now's a good time to get it if you need it. And I see people hate on this bronzer, but I still love it. It's the Too Faced Chocolate Powder Bronzer, and it's $38. I use the fluffy side of the brush, pick up some of the bronzer, and then I just carefully stipple it all over the cheeks. Now, I saved my forehead on purpose for the Hourglass Holiday Palette. This is the Fox palette, but I got the Deer packaging. I'm mixing the bronzer and the finishing powder together on the same brush, and this just gives the most beautiful, soft bronze. I know these are pricey, but I love them so much, and last time I looked, the Fox was the only one left at Sephora. You can definitely build this up, but I'm not going to. I can't even with these blushes from YSL. The packaging sold me, I'm not going to lie, but thankfully I can say that the matte formula is fantastic. I've not tried the satin formula, but they get great reviews too. $46 is a lot, so get these on sale while you can. This is the Patrick Ta Precision Blush Brush, and it's $40. I'm going to use the fluffy side, and this is the shade Hot Mauve. The size of this brush is perfect if you have a smaller face shape. You will love this. This is another new favorite from Glossier. It's the Cloud Paint Plush Blush in the shade Gale. It's $26. They have 10 different shades, and this formula is fantastic. It does feel plushy, but it acts more like a powder blush. I'm using the F4 brush again and just tapping it over my cheeks for some more blurring action. I definitely didn't need to add more blush, but I had to show you these two. Now I'm taking the One Size Powder Foundation in the shade Light 2N to further carve out my cheekbones and just clean up a little bit where I use so many blushes. There are 33 shades in this powder, and it's amazing as a finishing powder. I like to tap it in with the powder puff and then blend with a fluffy brush. You can use any powder for this step, but this is my number one. This was a hard choice, but I decided the ABH would be my top pick for lip liners. They are $22 and they have 22 shades. I have Rosewood, Muted Mauve, and Deep Taupe. And I'm going to start with Deep Taupe. These are super long lasting, creamy, but not too creamy, and the shades are beautiful. I'm going to outline my lips with this shade, and then I'm taking the shade Rosewood to fill in and shade a little bit. I swatched them out that way you could see the differences on my hand. We have Rosewood on top, Muted Mauve in the center, and then Deep Taupe on the bottom. ABH also has my favorite lipstick in the satin formula. This is the shade Tease, and it's $26. I have several favorite glosses, but it's been a while since I talked about these. The Lawless Forget the Filler Plumping Glosses, they are $26, and the shade that I'm using today is Rosy Outlook. I would say these are my most long-lasting formula in my collection as far as plumping glosses, and this shade goes with anything. I'm shaking up the new Danessa Myricks setting spray, and I'm going to use it on the Estee Lauder side. Look how fine that mist is. This is so good, and it's $36. I'm pulling out my Jumbo Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. This was $58, but it's a $76 value. It's my all-time favorite, so the jumbo just makes sense for me. I'm using that on the Clinique side, and then I'm going to take the One Size Until Dawn setting spray on both sides. This just locks everything in, and it's $34. Now I'm going to finish off the brows with the ABH Micro Stroke Brow Pen in the shade Medium Brown. It's $28, and I'll just say this, the formula and design of the tip is fantastic. I know that this shade is too dark for me, and I did order a new shade. I did go a little overboard, but I was trying to hurry so that I could film 2 videos, and I wanted to use all the products I recommend so you can see them in action. Y'all don't have to come for me so hard in the comments. Next is Lower Lash Mascara, and my favorite is the Lancome Lash Idole. This is a sample size, but the full size is $30, or they have a mini for $15. I just love the wand on this mascara, and it never smears or smudges. I feel like I'm going to be using this on my lower lashes for life. I do all of this once the setting spray dries, and now I'm going to recurl my lashes with the Shiseido Lash Curler. It's $28, and it's one of the best that I've ever used. Lastly, I'm going to take the lightest shimmer from the OG Ethereal Eyes palette, and I just place that in my inner corner to brighten it up a little bit. Just do tapping motions so you don't have any fallout, and that's it. This is the completed look using my top picks from the Sephora sale. The sale starts today for everyone November 4th, and it's going to end on November 10th. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!